PS Vita, by all accounts, is a failure in Sony's eyes. So, why in 2024 is it really becoming one of my favorite systems ever? Well, let's dive right into what makes the PS Vita such a fantastic system, and even in 2024, it's becoming one of the best systems I have ever owned. So, let's hop straight into the video and let's discuss why I think it is such a fantastic little system. First of all, I want to break this down into, say, three categories. My general experiences with the Vita, the games, which is obviously one of the most important things for a gaming system, and then what I am calling the problem. The problem is something I don't think is exclusive to me, but it is something that the PS Vita has highlighted for me, and it is going to make me show that I am getting on in my years. But we'll get to the problem at the end. Let's first talk about the general experiences. Now, for me, the use cases of the PS Vita is actually where it shines quite brightly. I love just lying on the couch, or more specifically, lying in bed after a long day and playing the Vita. The Vita is obviously a handheld system, so I'm not tethered to the couch playing my PlayStation 5, even though I really wish that I was. PS5 games are obviously fantastic, but I enjoy playing the Vita on my bed, just relaxing for that last hour before I turn off all my devices and go to sleep. But that is one of the best things about the Vita. It allows you to play wherever you want. You don't have to be attached to Wi-Fi. You don't need to be in distance of your PlayStation 5, certain accessory that I'm talking about, but we'll get to that later. So my general use cases for the system are that it solves a very little problem, but it also allows me to play my games comfortably. Now, that is another thing that is really important when looking at the Vita. The Vita is an incredibly comfortable system to hold. Obviously, there are much more comfortable systems nowadays. I'm thinking about the Portal. The Portal obviously is just a DualSense cut in half and allows you to hold it perfectly. But this, the Vita, having the dual analog sticks, is already a lot more comfortable than something like the PSP. The PSP over here just feels it's a bit too cramped. There's no place to put the rest of my fingers, and I don't have massive hands, and even the PSP feels a bit uncomfortable. It's something that I wouldn't necessarily want to play with the little analog stick. I know this is a major point of contention. A lot of people don't like it, but if I could, I'd probably prefer to play games with the D-pad. I think that's the best way to play the PSP, which is kind of sad because obviously this actually has pretty good 3D games. Daxter comes to mind, obviously the God of War games. So it is quite sad that the PSP just isn't comfortable to hold for long periods of time, whereas this genuinely is. I love holding this. It is very comfortable to hold. I think it has something to do with the grooves at the back here. They just have the perfect place to rest your fingers. So the comfortable aspect of the PS Vita is one of the things that have drawn me to it. So that is in my general experiences. Another general experience is the UI, the interface. This has aged beautifully. It is so snappy. It is easy to use. Everything is right where you would want it. I only discovered for the first time the other day that if you hold down the PlayStation button, the control screen pops up. I did not know that. So I've been going into settings the whole time to turn my brightness up and down, where all I could do is just hold down the PlayStation button and all the controls pop up. You have your flight mode, your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth, your disable microphone, prioritize chat audio, your music volume, your brightness. So all the important things right there as you need them. So the UI has aged beautifully. It is right at home in modern 2024 contemporary times. It is perfect. It's the perfect UI for a handheld system, and I love hopping into it all the time. So I don't have any problems with the UI. It is a great experience. And yeah, that kind of just wraps up my general experiences with the system. Now, the next thing is probably the most important thing when it comes to a gaming system, and that is the games. What are the games like? What games have I been playing? What games have made this system so much more accessible, so much more special, so much more enjoyable over the couple months that I've had it? I've had it for about a year now, and there are certain games that kind of just stand out. I've kind of broken them into three categories. First category are your PS2 classic games that have been ported onto the PS Vita. Now, I love my PS2, but it's very rare that I go in to play games that I can play in another place on it. So games like the God of War collection, I am now playing God of War 1 on the PS Vita, and I am not going to play it on the PS2. There are games, obviously, that are stuck on the PS2 that I'll always play on the PS2. The PS2 is still a system that I do boot up fairly regularly, at least 3 to 4 times a month. So it's not like I don't use the PS2, but if there's a better way to experience the game, specifically if there's a handheld way to experience a PS2 game, which is the Vita in this case, I will probably prefer to do it that way. There are a lot of games that I still want to pick up on the Vita that are PS2 games, the Sly Cooper collection, even though I know that the third game apparently is a download code and those codes have all expired, which is really sad and really... it sucks. It sucks big time that that's the way that is. The Ratchet and Clank trilogy, maybe the Metal Gear games. There's a lot of games that I love to pick up that are originally PS2 games to play on the PS Vita. So that's the first game, or the first category. The second category is exclusives. Now, Uncharted Golden Abyss hasn't ever been ported. It is locked on the PS Vita firmly. There is no other way to play Uncharted or Golden Abyss. And that's fine because it makes use of the PS Vita very well. So it is definitely the right way to play this game. Hopefully one day they do figure out some way of porting it. I don't know what they will do. Maybe they'll use the trackpad on the PS4 and PS5 to just emulate some of the features that need the PS Vita, or the gyro. Obviously we have gyro still built into our controller, so maybe there's things that they can do like that. But for now, the exclusives on the PS Vita are actually one of the main draws of the system. That is one of the reasons I really wanted a Vita. This is the only Uncharted game I hadn't played until I owned the Vita, and now I've played it. I haven't finished it yet, let me clarify. I still want to finish that sometime throughout this year. But the exclusives are a major part of what make this system such a great handheld to not only play on, but to collect for. Well, collecting might not be the right word, because the holes that these games burn in your pockets are just... I have never experienced the craze of buying games that are super, super expensive for systems. I try to avoid that at all costs. I try to find the best value version of a title. So, for instance, the Silent Hill games. Sorry. And we're back. Luna just had a little bit of a barking fit, so I had to go bring her in. There she is. So yeah, the exclusive games on the PS Vita are definitely something that have drawn me to the system. Now, there is one game that kind of just perfectly epitomizes my experiences with Persona, or with the PS Vita. Well, I just spoiled it for you guys. It's Persona 4 Golden. Now, we've done an unboxing of this. This is my most expensive retro purchase ever. This kind of really clarifies how expensive the games are. That's what I was discussing just before Luna decided to have a barking fit. PS Vita games are really expensive. Persona 4 definitely falls into that category. I think the listed price was 1,400 Rand for this. I managed to work out a trade deal, so I got it for a little bit cheaper. But that doesn't do this game justice. I am not defining this game by its price. I'm defining this game by how fantastic it is. If you just need any more proof as to how much I have fallen in love with Persona 4 Golden, just need to look right here at our last video. I did a purchase on Amazon and I bought these books, the manga, the Japanese comic books of Persona 4. I have never read manga. It's not that I don't like anime, I've just never gotten into anime. But Persona 4 Golden has made me want to experience this game in so many different lights. I would love to read the books, watch the anime. I've played the game now. I've finished the game. It took me about 75 hours and it was fantastic. I loved the game. And immediately as I finished, all I could think about doing was restarting the game. I literally had to stop myself and say, okay, whoa, let's look at the backlog. There are so many other games that you need to complete this year. Sea of Stars is probably going to be my next title that I put a lot of hours into. Sea of Stars, and I'm busy playing God of War Collection Volume 2 on the PlayStation 3. Then there's obviously the God of War Collection on PS Vita. So there's so many games. I couldn't just justify replaying it. But I can tell you it's not going to take me very long before I hop straight back into Persona 4 Golden. This is the quintessential PS Vita title, and I know nowadays you can purchase it on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 and on PC and on Switch and Luna. And whatever way you can play it, play it. I think this is a great, great game. I can't wait to hop into Persona 5. I hear that that is quite a fantastic game as well. And speaking of Persona 5, we do still have it sealed. We still haven't opened it. I think I have gone so far down the rabbit hole with Persona that I'm ready to start purchasing all the Persona games that I can to have them ready for when I need to play them all. I know Persona 5 is a big, big time sink. I think we're looking at about 110 hours. Persona 4 wasn't a small time sink. It was about 100 and... Excuse me. It was about... No, not 100. It was 75 hours, like I said. And I think if I wanted to do a completionist run and redo it and try and make sure that I get all the trophies, I think that would take me another 80 hours. And I honestly... What are you doing? I honestly wouldn't mind doing that. Persona 4 is just a fantastic, fantastic game. And even if you do not like JRPGs, this game has such a great murder mystery to it. The story is fantastic. The social link system is something that I've never experienced before, and I can't wait to experience it again in Persona 5 and Persona 4 when I replay it. It's just the best game on the system, and it is the game that has made me... Well, has opened me up to so many different titles that I never imagined playing. And actually, the game that started me off on this turn-based hit was Sea of Stars when I first tried it on PlayStation 5 at the beginning of the year on PS Plus. I have now since bought the game physically because it's actually a really, really fun game and I want to finish it. But my favorite turn-based game at the moment is Persona 4 Golden. So I think I've rambled on long enough about Persona 4 Golden. Let's get into what I'm calling the problem. Now, the problem with the PS Vita is that it's making me want to buy a PS Portal. As stupid as that sounds, the PS Portal has never really been on my radar. We've spoken about it a couple times. It is a system that looks good. I just don't have really good Wi-Fi, so I just worry that... Or steady Wi-Fi, I should say. Let's put it that way. I have decent enough speeds for South Africa, with all things considered, but the steadiness isn't there. I always seem to drop connection. That's one of the reasons we don't stream on this channel, even though I really would like to do a stream at some stage. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in that. But beside the point, the PS Portal is the system that the PS Vita is making me want to purchase. The ability to lie in bed and play my PlayStation just sounds so good. That probably makes me sound so old. I am... Some days you just have those days where all you want to do is lie in bed after a very, very long day and carry on playing your games. But if your games are on the TV, then it's a bit of a different thing. So the PS Portal solves a very niche problem for a very expensive price. But it is a problem that I am beginning to relate to and understand. And the PS Vita has sort of opened my eyes to what that experience could be like. Now, before I even make a decision like that, I need to make sure that remote play works perfectly. There are certain things that someone can do to make a PlayStation Portal function better, but I would like to do that prior to purchasing one on like the iPad or on my phone or something like that, just to make sure that the game I want to play run perfectly. And speaking of the games I want to play, it won't be my action games. It won't be The Witcher 3. It won't be Astrobot, where you need quick reactions. It will be games like Persona 5 Golden, or no, Persona 5 Royal, where reaction time isn't as important, but you still want to experience the story. So Persona 5 Golden, Royal, I'm going to call it Persona 5 Golden from now on. Persona 5 Royal is a big one. Obviously, then we have Sea of Stars. Titles like that, where reaction time isn't as important or isn't important at all, are the type of games that I think the PlayStation Portal will shine at, especially when you're laying in bed or, Lord forbid, you're stuck on the loo. We've all been there, don't judge. I think that's where the PlayStation Portal would shine, and the PS Vita really has opened my eyes up to that. So, let me know if you're playing the PS Vita in 2024, and if you still love the system as much as I am beginning to fall in love with it. it is genuinely ranking as one of my favorite systems of all time, and the PSP already was my favorite handheld of all time. Was it? Yes, it was my favorite handheld of all time. And as this might shock some people, PSP and Sony systems aren't the only ones that I used to play. I used to play some other brands that are famous for handhelds, and the PSP always stood out as one of the best systems. And now the PS Vita is firmly taking that mantle, specifically because you can also still play some of your PlayStation portable games. You can still play some of your PSP games. Obviously, you have to purchase them off the Sony store. You can't put UMDs in, or you could mod the PS Vita, which is not something that I am planning on doing anytime soon. But yeah, the PS Vita really has opened me up to this new format of playing, if you want to put it like that. And there's so many games I just can't wait to play. If there are titles that you recommend, I do not have that many titles. These are the 8 that I own. Those 8, and I'll show them on the screen now. Luna, you're making this very difficult for me today. And then obviously Persona 4. Also, just before I forget to mention it, how awesome does the controller wall look? This is so cool. I have to give a massive shout out to my mate Zach. He is doing some 3D printing here in South Africa. So if you do have any 3D printing needs in SA, he also does the design aspect. I'm linking him down in the bio. He has a Facebook page. You can message him. If you are not in South Africa, he has said that he doesn't mind designing stuff for you. He just unfortunately can't print it and ship it worldwide yet. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Let's hope he gets there. But yeah, if you want something like this, these are really cool. So this is basically what they are. It is a controller holder that functions on the scatter boards. So these are the IKEA pegboards. I know we don't have them in South Africa. I got mine overseas. But they basically function on these, and they clip on here, and then they clip into the pegboard, which is fantastic. But what is so cool about these is you don't actually need to put it on a scatter pegboard. You could actually just zip tie them onto any surface that has a zip tieable surface, if you want to put it like that. So I could put mine up here and it would stay there because it's zip tied. So these are very useful if you want other designs for controller holders, for PlayStation, for pretty much anything. I know he does a lot of fishing reel holders. Very bad explanation. I am not a fisher myself. I apologize to all the fishers in the comments in the audience. But yeah, if you need 3D design, you need stuff in South Africa, he can ship it to you. But if you need just designing worldwide, he is more than open to doing that. Anyways, I have rambled on for far too long. I will check you guys next week for another hopefully awesome video. Thank you so much for all the support recently, and I hope you are playing something awesome this weekend. Cheers.